You gotta come see to believe.
Welcome back to the Last Call podcast, and my name is Derek Austin, and this is episode 4, The Cost of Knowing. And I'm so glad to be back. I'm so thankful to be in this space. I'm thankful for the people around me. I'm thankful for all the things that are in front of me, and I'm even more thankful for the things that are behind me. But we're really here to just get back to the ball rolling of creating, dropping gems, getting some of the thoughts that get retained from just life and just being exhausted, and maybe not being too exhausted, but being enough exhausted that if I was to sit and put time into something, it wouldn't come out right because I wouldn't have the right energy. It's just the cost of being a dad and a husband and an artist and a creative and a long list of things, right? The way I look at life is like chess, right? And you move, but life moves too. And every move you try to make and every time you try to cheat, life moves a different piece on the chessboard. Maybe ones that can't make the moves that you thought they could make, because that's the way that life works, right? If I believed in God, I would say that it would be God, but it's not that I don't believe in God. It's just that I don't want to be in a space where I have to look for somebody first, then look for myself, or look to myself to give to somebody else, even in a figuratively, stance, right? I'm not that in that point in my life yet, right? But anyway, you know, the more you go through life, the more you realize, the more you know, the more you realize, even in that space of knowing what you start to figure out and know more things. And then the information that you obtain through these different times in your life where you're going through age, development, maturity, being of age to be able to do things that adults do, realizing that the adultism, that whole adulting past that point is like, it's cool to do that things and be able to do these things. But like after the times really ran its course, it's like it happens. Everyone's going to get to that age. Everyone's going to get to that point. Everyone's going to have that capability. And guess what? Some people don't use it. Some people abuse it. Pick your poison. You don't want to be it. You might be a square. You might overdo it. People are watching and telling you, and you may seem like an abuser. Hey, pick your life. Choose your life. Choose your path. Walk it. Nobody else can walk it for you, right? That's how I feel. That's what I believe, and that's the kind of energy that I'm rocking with this year, right? And it also brings me to a point to let me know, to let this be known that just because there's nothing being said, nothing being shown, doesn't mean nothing's happening. Just remember that. Just remember that little small segment of things I just said, right? Because it's like a lot of the times one of my favorite rappers, he said, how are they supposed to feel you if you don't give them the real you, right? The problem is the real you sometimes is too much for people because it just gives them more room for judgment. And which is okay for some individuals who know and are so certain of themselves that the judgment is not deterring them away from being them or continuing to being them or trying to level up better than what they thought they were, right? Because a lot of people won't try to better themselves. They'll just think they're full of themselves because they've made it to that point where they're like, I don't need to better myself. I'm already at the best I am. I'm already at the fullest I am. And it's like, that's what full of yourself means. Like people have spent so much time doing for themselves, going through the hardships, even if it isn't hardships, just to obtain whatever they obtained, right? Which is honorable and commendable because nothing comes easy in life, right? But the other thing is knowing too much or knowing enough or knowing more than the average get you in spaces where you do things that you wouldn't normally do, get you in spaces where you are in places where you normally wouldn't be, get you in spaces where you're talking to people who you normally wouldn't socially connect with. But because of things that you don't normally do, that all circles back around. And it's like what did it cost for me? It's like knowing too much and being a very intellectual person. What did it cost for me? Right? I think about that all the time. I think that's like an important thing to think about as a person who thinks that you're very smart and you're past it just reading a book and knowing what the book meant type of deal. No, it's like way further than that. But I think that when, you look at things, it's like, what was the cause? Or what was the reason? What were the results? What did you learn from it? Because that's like the holy trinity of the understanding. Because a lot of mistakes that were made and decisions that were made taught me and put me in spaces and places and lessons that I probably would have never obtained or been in if it wasn't for that mistake. And I feel like the mistake is the biggest sidekick to the lesson, because the lesson is going to come regardless. But when you make the mistake, it's the sidekick right next to the lesson. So you realize the correlation between the two, and you either have an option to make a change to not do it again, or you have the option to just repeat it again. But the repeat it again is like the heal that it's like the wound that won't heal, but the scab that just keeps not scabbing up, or the cut that keeps not scabbing up. And that's because the fence can't be ridden, the line can't be redrawn. You can't take steps back once you step on something and you stand for something. A lot of the times, that's what people think. They think that they can retreat and redact things that they say or retract things that they say. And it's like, you know what? We heard it, or do videos or do things. We've seen it. That gives us the impression that it's not real, that it's not you, it's not what we came for, it's not what we signed up for. But then you have people like me. I just don't really care about the social media stuff. I honestly don't care. I honestly could delete the app tomorrow. But the connection from people who don't normally text me are the same people that would normally just view the will just view it, and that's fine. Because if that's a you get to see how I'm living, you get to see what I'm posting, you get to see what I'm doing, going through whatever the case is. If that's allowed, if like I'm allowing that to be shown, that's cool that we get to both share that. But at the same time, I'm not built for this is what my life is, this is what my life is going to be like. I talk to my wife all the time about doing like a little reality show, and she's like, that would be cool, but the kids do a lot of crazy things. And I'm like, that's kind of the part of it. The part of it is that, your story about your one kid being born, and it's so hard of a struggle to just like get around the fact of being a parent and going through this and not sleeping. It's like, bro, try 2.5 years with twins. I ain't got to complain. I ain't never made a post about it at all, but try 2.5 years. You got the pre-pregnancy. Wifey's just uncomfortable, never sleeping, and I'm sidekick. I ain't sleeping either. I ain't sleeping because I feel bad. Because if I sleep, I feel like, man, I'm getting a good night's sleep. But I'm not gonna get a good night's sleep, because that's how it works when you really have love for somebody and you really love somebody. You feel like their scars got to be your scars. When they bleed, you got to be the one looking down like, yo, I got hit too, because it's just the way that you feel and the way that you operate and the way that you grow to be so much into a person that it's like, when is that day gonna ever get to the point where it's like, this doesn't feel like the first day type of deal. People look at the years and they're just like, oh, you've been together this long. And it's like, nah, I've been happy this long. You feel me? Like, I've been happy this long. I've been in love and in happy this long. And like, I solidified it, not by a piece of jewelry, or not by a court document, by letting someone know, like, this is the last chapter and this is our last chapter. And if you're willing to go to this last chapter, we don't need to write no more books. The book's over. Unless you want to come up with a new series of what we've created from that book or that experience, because that experience got us 3 years. That experience got us together, married, twins, beautiful kids. Like, you can't complain about things when life is going good, even if things are not always happening at the speed that you want and at the success rate that you want. Like, you just got to appreciate the things that are happening. You got to appreciate the happening versus the not happening. Reality check. Derek Austin, the Last Call podcast. This is episode 4. You already know where to find me at. You're going to see shorts of this, but you already know what to do. Follow, like, subscribe, share.
Leave it, the one who was doubted. Now look how I'm living. I'm back to the